So welcome to the very first Innovation Show live, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome the father of the experience economy on the 20th anniversary of his book, The Experience Economy, Joe Pine. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks.
Great to have you here in Dublin.
It's a pleasure.
Joe's very first time here in Dublin. We're in one of the experiences of Dublin, which is Croke Park, the centre of Gaelic football here in Ireland, and it's a great pleasure to have you here, man.
Well, it's terrific. I've wanted to be here for a long time, and I'm glad we had this opportunity.
Yeah, so let's jump into it because we don't have much time. I'd love to talk about, in the world of disruption, organizations are competing perhaps on culture. Many people talk about culture and it's about our people. Yes, it is. It's really important. But one of the other things is competing on experience.
Absolutely, because goods and services are basically becoming commoditized. That people don't care who makes them; they just care about the price. And when that happens, you need to shift to a new level of economic value. That means going beyond the goods and services to staging experiences, right? Engaging people inside, creating that memory within them. That's what an experience is.
So let's give our audience a few of the ideas of the economic jumps in value. So, for example, the humble coffee bean.
Yeah. So a coffee bean is a great example because it is a commodity. You can look up its future price, and if you look up the future price of coffee and convert it from a per pound to a per cup basis, it actually costs only 2 or 3 cents per cup. That's what coffee beans are worth. That's what farmers get. But if you take those coffee beans and you roast them, grind them, package them, put them on a grocery store shelf, now you can get 5, 10, 15 cents per cup of coffee. Perform the service of brewing it for a customer in a vending machine or a corner diner or bodega somewhere, and you get 50 cents, $1, $1.50 per cup of coffee, and I'll use dollars, you can convert to euros. And but surround the brewing of that coffee with the ambiance in the theater of a Starbucks, and now how much you pay, right? $3, $4, $5, and for at the core of which is coffee beans worth only 2 or 3 cents. And that's what happens when you create experiences within people, when you provide a place where people can have the ambiance in the theater of having something made just for them and then enjoying it in the coffee drinking experience.
One of the great stories I found from the book is Maxine Clark, the founder of Build-A-Bear. So she had this idea, it was inkling in her head, and your HBR article, actually, it was in the Harvard Business Review, gave her the inspiration to kind of go, yes, I'm onto something here.
Yeah, and so she had been rejected from various different investments, and she said she read that and knew that yes, this is going to work. This fits in perfectly with what's going on, and so she kept going and she got funded. And she created a multi-billion-dollar business because of it, where you can have this wonderful experience around making your very own teddy bear.
And one of the other great ones you give is the story of Geek Squad. You mentioned theatre before, so work as theatre, auditioning your staff rather than interviewing. This is great language.
Yeah, and it is great language, but it's not just language, right? It's like a fact, it's a thing, that when you stage experiences, your work is theatre. Whether you know it or not, whether you do it well or not, when you're in front of customers, you're on stage and need to engage them, engage that audience, and that requires theatre. And the Geek Squad is a great example of that. Because Robert Stevens, the founder, he understood that. He didn't interview prospective employees. He auditioned them and he costumed them, and that costume so he could really tell they're real geeks. Right? If you can wear that costume with a straight face, then you're a real geek. And gave them various techniques for how you engage the audience. And the thing about theater is basically think of it as the difference between what and how. That what is the service? It's the functional activities you have to do. Geek Squad has to install computers. They have to install software and connect with hardware, upgrade things, all that same stuff everybody else has to do. But how they go about doing it, right, with the wonderful persona that is the Geek Squad special agent, really brings it to a new level, turns it mundane interaction into an engaging encounter.
And one of the things you mentioned is we're here actually in Ireland, in Dublin, because of the EO One Level Up conference is what has Joe here. And one of the things to talk about is even bringing those experiences more to life. And I loved your example you gave of simple things like name tags.
Mm-hmm. Right, so yeah, just the way you name things and how you do things. Back to the Geek Squad again, originally it was all special agents, but then when they got bought by Best Buy, and so as an entrepreneurial company went from like 20 agents now to over 20,000 agents, they needed new titles and so forth. So they actually created 3 different levels of the special agents at the top. For example, the Rolling Stone never goes on tour without a Geek Squad special agent with them. Then they have double agents that work outbounds into customers' offices, business to business mostly, but also consumer, and inside the store, right? So the double agents. But then those that only work in the store are counterintelligence agents. So the things that they use, the names that they have, and then they do have their badge, right? This is their badge. I'm an honorary geek. I'm Special Agent 72 with the Geek Squad, and this is real titanium, right? This is just like the police and FBI use in the U.S. And it just gives a wonderful uptick to the experience, right? That's their signature moment, right? Is showing their badge and the officialness of it, and again, it just makes it into a wonderful, memorable experience.
One of the great things to talk about then is also the difference between products and services and experience as well. There's a great difference there that needs to be comprehended.
Yeah, and there's many things we can talk about. So we talked about what versus how. I think that the other core distinction to think about is about time. Right? It's one of the things we call this competing for customer time, attention, and money. And in the new preview, we have a section on it's about time. One, it's about time you shift in the experience economy, but the experiences is about time. That goods and services are about time well saved. Right, that you save me time, that I get in and out as quickly as possible. I get at in fact, what people want is they want goods and services to be commoditized, to get at the lowest possible price and the greatest possible convenience, so they can spend their hard-earned money and their hard-earned time on the experiences that they value. And experiences are about time well spent, that you get your customers to value the time that they spend with you. And when you do that, then means you're engaging them, and then you're going to create that experience within them.
And one of the things I took from this was there's a great tenet of innovation, which is innovation happens at the intersections. And I thought about when you were talking about time, for example, and charging customers for their time essentially. And there's experiments in blockchain at the moment where, for example, there's a living building, and the building will understand when I'm sitting under this light, for example, and charge me per minute for that. And I thought about that's a great thing that's happening here. So your world, your expertise is coming together into these burgeoning edge behaviors like blockchain. And that's going to bring brand new value to the world, and understanding time becomes essential.
Right. That is amazing. Because what people value is the time, what you need to charge for is the time. You need to align what you charge for with what people value. With services you charge for activities, with goods you charge for things, with experiences you charge for time, for the time your customers spend with you. And that means an admission fee or a membership fee of some sort. And even if it's a micro fee like that, it's the value you're getting from the time spent under that light. That's very interesting.
Some of the great examples you gave when you were speaking was experiential marketing. So people think of that and they think often guerrilla style, but you're bringing that even a stage further. And I'd love if you shared some of those examples.
Yeah, I was rather than the term experiential marketing, right, which is sort of like make our marketing mailers more dimensional and things like that, evoke the senses. That what I prefer to say is marketing experiences, experiences that do the job of marketing, that generate demand for your offerings. And so many companies get into that. You see manufacturers the world over that have gotten into the experience business to generate demand for their goods. We're in Dublin, the Guinness Storehouse, for example, is a great example of that. In Amsterdam, it's the Heineken experience. And in Tyrol, Austria, it's Crystal Velton from Swarovski. Volkswagen has Autostadt theme park in its factory of Wolfsburg, Germany, and so forth. The World of Coca-Cola in Atlanta. All of these are that, but service companies can do that as well. Capital One banks have cafes. Imagine a banking cafe where you go in and talk to your banker over a cup of coffee because they've been so commoditized. Nobody wants to go into a branch anymore, so let's create a place where people want to come in and experience. And you can generate marketing experiences even for experiences itself. Think about Las Vegas, right? It's all about the experience there. But the hotels went from sort of normal hotels to these huge, big, themed behemoths. Basically, with things like the Bellagio water show outside, or the Sirens pirate show at the Treasure Island, and so forth, and those are things that draw people in, then get them to come into the casino where their core experience, the gaming that you can do there.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing you said there. So another tenet of innovation is that you don't follow best practices anymore. That's business as usual. You follow best principles, and one of the great ones you gave was, for example, I'm a bank, ING, and I train my people as baristas. I love this example.
Right, exactly. So so rather than just being financial experts, right, is you're a financial barista. You get training to make a cup of coffee, do it as well as you can get at Starbucks or someplace else, but then you get even weeks longer training on the financial offering so that you really understand what's going on. And it was Capital One, the bank that bought the original ING Direct Cafes, where this originally started.
It's a great example. And
let me build on
Sure.
your point too, is that, but best principles are exactly right. Is what are the principles that this company is applying, and how do I apply it to my business? So you look at a Geek Squad. I say, well, we don't do that. We're not geeks. You know, for you that may seem gaming key. For geeks, it's real. But what's the principle? The principle is a uniform, is a costume, right? How should I be costumed? Even if I'm a business person going into somebody else's offices, what I'm going to wear is in fact very important for the experience I want to stage. So you need to think intentionally, right? And here's a key word, it's intention. What is your intention? Why are you doing this? And make sure that everything is harmonized together for the experience that you want to create. You know, that's just one principle among many that we could talk about with experience staging.
And last example to share is, oftentimes when people hear of marketing experience, not experiential marketing.
Got it.
Got it.
You're a quick learner. I like it.
Is this can happen for B2B as well, because often
Yes.
people think this has to be business to consumer, but it's not.
Yeah.
It can happen B2B, and you gave some great examples.
Yeah, well, it's because every business person is a person, and they'd rather spend their time in experiences that they value rather than in boring meetings or boring interactions and so forth. And so there are lots of wonderful B2B experiences. You know, the software company Autodesk created a museum in its offices. It's a corporate briefing center where you can experience its products. There's a place there where James Cameron actually used Autodesk software to live render the Avatar. And so he has like this iPad on a hook that he can move around, and while they're all the dots on them for motion capture, he's seen the blue world right there, and you can see how that's done using their software. And the principle again, basic principle of marketing experiences is to get your customers to experience your offering before they buy it, and then the chances they will buy it go up. And my favorite example is actually sort of so if you can do it this business, you can do it anything, is construction equipment, right? What a more industrial example, B2B example than construction equipment. Well, Case Construction in the U.S. created the Tomahawk Experience Center in Tomahawk, Wisconsin, the Northwoods of Wisconsin in the U.S., where they bring customers up to basically play with the equipment. Often these are people that grew up in the industry, but they became owners and managers and they never get to use the equipment anymore. Well, here, they show them the latest, greatest stuff. They set them loose on this giant sandbox. They have rodeos and contests, who can move the most amount of dirt in the shortest amount of time. And they did a study and found that a normal customer goes up to a Case dealer, they have perhaps a 20% chance to get in the business. But you bring them to the Tomahawk Experience Center, and it goes up to 80%. So the experience is marketing.
The experience is the marketing, and we are in the 20th year since Joe Pine and James Gilmore wrote The Experience Economy. I highly recommend it. A very important book for your business. Joe Pine, it's a pleasure to have you in Dublin. Nice to meet you finally, man.
Finally, Aidan, thanks.